I'm Joel McCower here with Nicolette Hahn Niman, the author of Defending Beef. Nicolette, tell us, when you talk about defending beef, are you talking about making it a little better, or are you talking about a whole new way of creating beef?
Well, I'm really talking about re-examining beef as it currently is and making it better. Because I think beef has really gotten an unjustified bad rap for being damaging to the environment and bad to human health. What I'm arguing in my book is that we actually really need these grazing animals as part of the food system, and they also provide very healthy, nutritious food.
So they could be beneficial to the earth? Is that the idea?
Yeah, actually, the whole importance of the grazing animals is that they live on grasslands and they eat nothing but grass. I mean, they're capable of living that way. And they are actually a really important part of maintaining those grassland ecosystems. So people tend to look at this issue in very reductionistic ways. They'll look at, for example, methane emissions, or they might look at riparian areas and trampling in riparian areas or something like that. But if you look holistically at the impact that grazing animals have in the food system, they have a very important beneficial role.
I imagine one of those issues is land use. Do we simply have enough land to breed the amount of cattle to create the beef that we need to feed a growing population, and do that in a climate-constrained world?
Yeah, that is definitely a concern. But there have actually been people that are very involved in grazing and the science of grazing who have calculated not only that the world has sufficient grazing lands for all of the grazing, of the cattle in particular, to be out on grass rather than in feedlots, but there's actually a surplus of available land to do that. So that's really not an actual problem. That's kind of a red herring.
And what are some of the other red herrings that you've heard about, that you've written about?
One of the big red herrings is this whole idea that cattle cause climate change. And in fact, I think that's something that people have come to accept to be true nowadays. And sometimes you even hear these crazy numbers like more than half of climate change is caused by beef cattle. But in fact, in the United States, the total contribution of all of the ruminant animals, so that includes all cattle, all sheep, all goats, all domesticated bison, the total of that is about 2%, according to the US EPA. So those are the official numbers. And the number is a little bit higher, but not much globally. So one of the sort of most important points, I think, on the climate change issue is just to realize that it's not nearly as big as people tend to.
So should we be eating more beef to save the planet?
I don't necessarily advocate that. In fact, I think probably the average American eats more beef than is advisable for a variety of reasons. I mean, beef is a more resource-intensive food than other foods. So I think everyone should consider that, and then just the healthfulness of our diets. We should have very diverse diets with lots of fruits and vegetables. I think meat and beef especially is a really healthy part of that diet. But I don't think we need to eat more of it. I just think that when we do eat beef, we should eat it carefully. We should cook it carefully, because if we grill it, for example, that can add to carcinogenic issues, etc. And we should source it carefully. Yeah. So we should try to find beef that was really well raised, and optimally, the best beef, I think, from an ecological standpoint and a health standpoint, is beef that was raised entirely on grass.
Wow, a lot to chew on. Nicolette Hahn Niman, Defending Beef. Thanks so much.